All right, let's rock and roll. Good afternoon, everyone. I'd like to call to order the Sagatuck City Council workshop for November 8th, 2021. Would the clerk please call a roll?
Gannon? Here. Carster? Here. Leo? Here. Beckon?
Here.
Lewis? Here. Peterson? Here. Dean?
Here. Okay, all in attendance. Next agenda item is mayor's comments. Withhold any comments for the workshop. City manager comments. Ryan?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Mayor. City manager's report is on page 2 of the packet. There are 2 attachments to the report. On page 7, you'll find an attachment, which is the information that was included at the open house for the Blue Star Trail. So that's for information only at this point. Another attachment's on page 17. It's not labeled very clearly, but this was a letter that was sent out to residents that live on or off of Campbell Road. It's associated with the Campbell Road Water Service Replacement and Road Project. So I do want to give credit to the city of Douglas, their city manager. They're the ones that actually drafted that resident notification, and then we just plagiarized it and put our letterhead on it. So Kate did a good job with that. Happy to answer any questions that you may have on the city manager's report, Mr. Mayor and council.
Council, any questions on the city manager report? We'll have another update or shot at it at Monday's meeting also if we want to withhold comment until then.
Mr. Mayor, one other update that I failed to mention is the Dune Ridge violations. Those are listed on page 3 of the city manager's report. In the violation, we gave the Dune Ridge development team 7 days to respond with their plan. They sent us an email that said, hey, they just received this. This was it was the way that we worded it said 7 days from when we actually mailed it. They received it, three days later, what have you. They requested that if they could respond this week, about sometime by Friday. We said, yeah, it's not a problem. They also indicated that they'd like to have a meeting with the attorneys and city staff.
Mr. Mayor, quick question. Quick question for the manager. So Ryan, the 4th of July expenses, that is our city of Sagatuck expense, $17,539.
That's the total expenses. And there is a note next to the borderlets that came in at $3,000. Those were for the 4th of July weekend, but it's questionable whether you can attribute those directly to the fireworks cost and or not.
Yeah, I wanted to provide those updated costs to balance the donations. Holly and I talked about this a couple of times over, what expectations that the city planned for. And I think that's evident that the business community and other persons in the community really stepped up and funded that, because we're only less than $1,000, I think, away from the cost, other than the restrooms. Ken, did you have a comment or question? Correct. That was, the fireworks were raised independently, okay, by the business community and other donations. No, correct. I think it was about 12,000, not counting the in-kind donations for the barge, and that came from the King Company, and someone else helped out on it. Maybe Steve King, I think, was part of that also, between Randy and Steve King. So that does not include that. So 12,000 was covering all the fireworks themselves.
Okay, so actually, you only was 25,000.
Yeah, I think we're probably closer to 30. Yeah, I think that's,
Mr. Mayor, one other note, we do have thank you letters prepared for the participating entities that helped out with the 4th of July event, so we'll pass those around at some point in the meeting, if you could sign those before you leave.
Yeah, those would be the public entities, care department, the state police. There's a couple of those neighboring places related sometimes.
So, so the city contribution ended up being $4,000.
Donation from the expenses.
added in portalets, right? Which is pretty much a general city expense. They would have been, they would have needed to be here anyways. That was an expense this year, I believe, because of the shift of the art fair from Cook Park down to the city square. So in the past, the art fair picked up the portalets when it was down in Cook Park. I think that's accurate.
So if you look at that, it was on the water.
Right. If there's no further questions regarding the manager's report, I don't believe there's any agenda changes. You see anything you need to add to this, Ryan?
I do not, Mr. Mayor. I do not, Mr. Mayor, thank you.
All righty. We have no guest speakers scheduled for the workshop. We will open the floor to comments by the public. If you wish to address the council on agenda items, please step to the podium, identify yourself by name and community of residence, and limit your comments to 3 minutes.
So I'm Nancy Kimball. I live at 550 Street here in Saugatuck. And I just want to comment on the Non-Motorized Trail. By starting out, I want to just acknowledge what a wonderful community to live in. It's an incredible place and it's great to live in. It's also a wonderful place to visit. But there is at least one thing lacking, and that is a non-motorized trail. A trail will provide recreational opportunities for residents for safe walking, running, and hiking. Also, it's one more reason for a visitor to come to our community. So in our case, most importantly, the Blue Star Trail greatly increased safety. The current means of cycling between Saugatuck and Douglas is incredibly dangerous. Cyclists should not be riding on the sidewalk on the bridge, as this is appropriately designated for pedestrians. However, staying on the road requires crossing the incredibly busy Blue Star Highway twice with no traffic signal to assist. Once you're on the road, you're forced to ride with the traffic because there's a very narrow shoulder. I know this because I've done it many times. So it's a risky endeavor. It deters people from making a trip. Personally, I live here. I need to go to Douglas. I like to go to the library. I like to go to the grocery store, and I'd like to be able to do that on my bike. I can't do it. So we are very fortunate to have a group of citizens, the Friends of the Blue Star Trail, who have taken the initiative to solve this problem. Getting a trail is no small task, and the Friends have shown incredible dedication. They've not only done the research necessary to advance the costs, they're dedicated to providing the local match needed to fund the build a trail. Furthermore, our city council has documented support for the trail by past resolutions and current actions. Holly and Ken's leadership and participation, the Tri-Community Committee, are key to getting us to the point where we are. They demonstrated widespread community support in Saugatuck for the trail. So I urge you to support the build trail, and my personal preference for the bridge section is a 2-lane option. For whichever option is selected, please add a traffic signal at the corner of Lake and Blue Star. This is needed not just for safe passage of pedestrians, cyclists, but all for motorists. Thank you.
Anyone else to address council, please?
Hi, I'm Beth Huffman. I live at 306 Mary Street in Saugatuck. and I am here to speak in for and support to expedite completion of the bike trail. I want City Council to agree to all the Tri-Community Non-Motorized Committee's recommendations and pursue the least expensive option when options are available as they're presented in your meeting material today. This committee has been collaborative and thorough in its work. Their recommendations should not be discounted by those who have not fully participated in the committee work. Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on to finished business. All right, so we move on to item 9, new business. Board appointment information. I guess I can share you the status of our open positions at our various boards. We had a, I guess, resignation from Marcia Casper, so we have a vacancy on the Planning Commission. We are waiting, we have 2 appointments that need to be approved for ZBA, Bob Kabashiak and Dick Bont, current members, longtime members. I would like to, we'll hopefully put their names in Monday. We're just hearing from Bob Kabashiak. I think he's on a world tour or something. He's kind of been out of communication. Historic, Tim Straker's term is up. He wishes to be reappointed. Is that Keith Patterson? Is that gentleman's first name? I'm sorry. Okay, his appointment is up. We have yet to hear back from him, but we hope to hear back by Monday's meeting. Library board appointment, Mr. Larry Blows wishes to be reappointed. Those reappointments is something I'd like to present to council. Past practice, tradition has been to reappoint board members unless there's some other mitigating circumstances. Also, there is a, I just mentioned this to Padley, Kelly Roca, is that how I pronounce her last name? Roach. Terms up on a tri-community rec board. That's an advisory board. That appointment's up September 23rd. We'll touch base with Kelly to see if she wishes to continue. So that's kind of it on the board appointments. Any questions? Okay, wish to thank Padley. She's been kind of keeping me on track with those things. So moving on, social district updates. Ryan.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Social district executive summary is on page 20 of your packet. And you'll see that Kate White is the author on this document. And so within the executive summary, Kate has provided a background on what these gathering spaces are. I'm just going to hold up a second until everyone's caught up to. All right. So Kate provides a background on what the idea or the intent of gathering spaces are within a social district. And then we talk about the selection of space, which park we're recommending and why. Then we talk about point number 3, which is the fact that we've had some non-for-profits reach out to us saying that they would donate funds to create these spaces. Item 4 is concerns as far as the logistics of managing a space such as this. Concerns from the Department of Public Works as far as their mowing and irrigation needs, what have you. So we're working with Scott on this project. And then point number 5 is we lay out some recommendations and trying to get some permission to go ahead and start creating these spaces. So there's four major points that we illustrate, which is that all the activities are going to be reviewed by the Department of Public Works. Efforts will be made to work with local non-for-profits to assist with the funding of the spaces. Reports on the status of the social spaces would be provided to council monthly. And then efforts to work with local vendors to build some of these games. And we have attached some of the games that are used in other social districts throughout the state, just as some ideas. And that's basically it. You are currently muted. You are not. You were.
I was.
I think there's like a little lag with your space bar, maybe. There, oh. Oh. Oh, no. Can you try clicking on it rather than the space bar? Or has it disappeared?
Most would like you to unmute. Okay. I'd like you to. No. I don't know whether I'm muted or not. Am I good?
You are, but I can repeat your question for.
I'll unmute
audience
and let's see
members.
if that helps.
Okay,
So,
the only question I had was, when these structures go up, will they have to be taken down every time for music in the park?
So my question is, how many more? I think there's only one left.
yeah,
Tonight.
And so then the rest of the time it's still on the shoulder season, and so we wouldn't need to worry about moving anything around like that.
So yeah, depending on the game, I think. So there is something I've been thinking in summary that talks about creating a box to put some of the games that are more prone to disappear or messy.
Mhm.
So there is an idea of having a toy bin.
I think it sounds like a great idea, especially when you see how busy it is at the Mitten and other places where there are games out there. I just think it's a great idea.
I have a question on the trail along the same line. There's a chili cook-off there in October, which could interfere with that. Just need to keep that in mind. It's in the set up in the parking lot. Part of the park is also involved.
Okay, thank you for that.
Ryan,
Sure.
did Scott or Kate have any reaction or report out on fire pits, given the seasons will be changing?
So we consider that round 2 of our discussion. We wanted to focus on just getting these games up and running and then just kind of start from that point, but then get into the discussions as the season progresses into getting some warming stations or something similar to that.
So that's a discussion we'll likely have this year.
Yeah, it's up to council, but that's kind of where staff is tracking.
Okay, thank you.
manager, all along those lines, seating, any kind of seating that accompanies fire pits and such?
That would be part of the conversation, yeah. Yep. We did, another reason Wicks Park is good, not only on the waterfront, which may, not be so good as we get later into the season because of the wind come off the river, what have you, but seating is something that's been discussed with staff. But again, we just wanted to start somewhere and this is our starting point, so we'll continue the discussion.
Ryan,
Yes.
I assume we're not considering getting all of these. We probably need to decide a couple?
Correct. And so for Monday, the recommended action by council would be to allow staff to determine which games come into the space, working with the fundraisers. The fundraisers are going to be pretty important to that process. What games are they willing to sponsor? And if what they are kind of these like nicely crafted local games, how quickly can they actually be constructed? So there's a number of considerations that we won't be prepared to have council select from. But if you want to participate, we can definitely fold you into the process. Okay, then.
So we anticipate city expenses I know you said you're going to try to get some buy-in from sponsors, but this will come out of some fund, city fund to pay for the.
Yeah, potentially there will be a fund. Let me figure out which fund would be best as a
Yeah, if maybe we can just.
worst case scenario.
Yeah.
I did get a cost as well, we're putting like, string lights, like those larger kind of bistro lights, perfect. In that space at Wicks Park. And I can share that number with council on Monday. It wasn't cheap, but this is something to consider anyways.
Okay, any other questions regarding this? We'll be chatting, discussing this in, again, Monday's meeting. No further questions. Move on to item C, non-motorized trail grant funding sources.
Mr. Mayor, I'd be happy to
Yes,
take this. Ali, please feel free to help me wherever you need it. So the next 3 items are related to the non-motorized trail on your agenda. First being item C, the non-motorized trail grant covering transportation alternatives program and the state trust fund. There needs to be federal funding for transportation alternatives. There needs to be an active agent that applies for that. The township not an active agency. So that means the city of Saugatuck and the city of Douglas. City of Douglas, their trails done for the most part. So it would make sense that the city of Saugatuck act as a lead agency to apply for the federal grant. So that's what I'm recommending for you on Monday for your consideration. And then also separate from the federal grant, it's recommended that the city of Saugatuck and the township of Saugatuck both apply for state trust fund grants. So asking for 2 things to go ahead and apply for the state trust fund grant and then also be the lead agency for the federal grant. And this is recommended by the non-motorized trail committee. Did I hit the points? Okay.
Points. Normally, the county would be the applicant, but they're not willing to take that role. So that's what we've come up with. And the deadline for that transportation alternative program, which is administered through MDOT, is October 13th. And Michigan Natural Resources Trust Fund, April 1st.
Any questions, Mr. Mayor or Council?
Upon approval of TAP, both of these grants, we would be responsible for applying for them, so they would fall into your.
Correct. Yes. Correct. Yep. And of course, working very closely with the engineer and the Friends of Blue Star Trail have been kind enough to fund those costs today.
So question, so again, this is what the non-motorized trail committee is recommending.
Yeah, these are the 2 funding sources that have been identified as the most competitive for what we have. And the nice thing about hiring our engineering company, C2AE, which has built a significant amount of trails in the state, is that they write the grant application and they help us determine the best eligibility and the best grants to go after. So, and how to go about it.
So then they'll be involved in this process. They'll continue to be involved.
That's part of the fees that the Friends have paid for, and it's part of the engineering fees. So it's that was, they also have a community liaison who has been helping us, along this process and then message to the community. So get feedback.
And just a follow-up question, if the council acts on Monday, there's adequate time to meet both of these deadlines, the October and the April deadline?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So September 27th would be when our committee would come back to you with design. So this Friday, we're going to be reviewing routes and making a recommendation. We'll bring those recommendations back to you. And right now we have basic design schematic drawings. And once, for instance, the TAP grant, we would go into a design phase if we are competitive. So that's really when we start dialing down. What does the crosswalk look like? What does it look like when we go past the sign? And you all will be very involved in that process because we'll be coming back to you to work those things out. So. Anything else to add?
And we got, there's no further question on the grants. I got a follow-up question, but I think it's kind of combines the grants and the grant matching contributions. So I'd like to hear what's going on with that, Ryan. Item D then.
Yeah, certainly.
Explanation of that.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. For the Transportation Alternatives Grant, the engineers are strongly suggesting or highly recommending that each municipality put in some contributing funds or matching funds. This is a question that the applicants always receive by the reviewers. How much money is the city putting into this? And so it's up to the council to decide that dollar amount. I know the township was considering 10,000. I think they've reduced that to 5,000 as of their agenda this evening. And the matching grants would apply to the total project. So that would be viewed for both the transportation alternative grant, and that would also be considered for the state trust fund. So they're one and the same. So it won't be, you know, one contribution for the TAP and then a different contribution for the trust fund. They would be viewed together. If that makes sense.
It makes sense. I mean, for me, in my mind, there's a difference between a matching grant and a $10,000, not a token contribution, but when you're looking at a project that could be approaching anywhere close to $700 to $1 million, that's not much of a, albeit knowing that the friends are going to step in. So I'm just saying, what is, you know, is it more just to demonstrate a community interest going forward?
Yes.
So as opposed to matching, which could be a percentage, could be a dollar amount or something.
Yeah, I think matching is probably not the most appropriate term, given the, to your point, the magnitude of the dollars we're talking about. So I think the answer is yes, it's a sign that the cities are involved and committed, and then also checks a box, frankly.
Another follow-up to the mayor's question. Is that, if we do the 5,000 or 10,000, then is that the cap?
Well, that's up to council, if they're willing to contribute anything beyond that. I mean, the friends, the next step is to, you know, work with the friends on their contributions to capital costs after the grants are received. That really hasn't been locked down as good as it should be as the city goes into the next phases of the project.
Well, I can say that right now, we're looking for grants to provide 60%, and 40% would be the community, and the friends have committed to provide that based on the engineering that C2AE has given us today.
Mhm.
So, and asking us to make a token donation is, it basically shows MDOT that the city has a commitment. You've got some skin in the game, so to speak.
Did anyone run by consultants to see what the 5,000 was spoken about?
Mhm.
Well, I'd like to, yeah, if I may, in the past, we've been very generous at supporting a number of good community activities at the tune of at least $10,000, some even more. I think this is the gesture that's most appropriate is 10,000 from this council as our token of goodwill that we are in this and invested in this. We all want to see it done. We've all said we want to see it done. And 10,000 is not a large amount to request of this city, given everything else that we fund from a community perspective. So it makes good sense to me to fund it at 10 per the request from the committee.
Make that decision Monday.
Thank you.
Any other questions on either the, yeah. Or the trail mentioned as we move on. Anything to add? Holly?
I'll keep everybody updated and, you can, ask questions. We meet regularly Fridays at 2. We're all learning because this is really the first time that we've really done a tri-community committee at this level to have these different agreements. And so, if anybody has additional questions, just reach out.
Okay, Ken, you have anything to add? There's another committee
Well,
member?
I just, I support the $10,000 level. I guess I was thinking politically, whether what that makes the township look bad.
Well, actually, I spoke with some members of their board today, and they are in between 5,000 and 10,000. But honestly, I mean, they have quite a bit of trail built already, and that they maintain, and so, and Douglas obviously, they actually committed $100,000 from their budget to improve their trail this year. So since they have really half the bridge, they're going to kick in whatever they're going to kick in.
Okay, we're good, okay. Moving on. Never too early in the year to talk about holiday lighting. Oh, I'm sorry, my bad. I was going.
The snoozer.
Okay, next one, and I got it right in front of me too.
I'll be happy to address this, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah, take it over.
Okay, the TAP grant that I was talking about earlier also requires that the participating municipalities have a understanding of how maintenance is going to be accomplished. And, if they're going to put a federal investment into infrastructure, they want to make sure it's cared for. It makes sense. And so the committee is recommending that the city of Saugatuck join an existing agreement that Laketown Township, City of Village of Douglas, and Saugatuck Township already have. And really the essence of the agreement is that the municipalities will work together on maintenance, level of service of the trail. But at the end of the day, each jurisdiction or municipality is responsible for the path in their jurisdiction. So they're looking for economies of scale, like if they go out for proposals to do crack sealing of the trail and or trim trees, what have you, but doesn't commit any municipality to assist in costs in another municipality. So this one seemed the most straightforward. It already was in place. Just to add the city seemed like the right thing to recommend.
If I'm trying to remember, originally the Friends of the Blue Star were going to help with the maintenance too. That has gone away?
That has. It's our understanding. We have representatives of the Friends here today. Is that is no longer in place. The position that they have taken, or at least that I've heard, is that they're working hard to fund the capital costs, and they're not quite thinking about maintenance costs at this point. They can't. Yeah, that's their current position.
Yeah, I think 2019 was a rough year for Saugatuck taxpayers because our maintenance costs are, looks like they'll be about $1,300 a year, including plowing. And that agreement that you're referring to is for $7,700, which would have bought a lot of maintenance, but it was a proposal and that was never signed on the dotted line.
Can you comment on page 32? That's where you're getting.
Mhm. And so that's for each of the estimated. Well, I can tell you that this is an Excel spreadsheet that is based on the Traverse City trails, the TART system, which is the biggest system in the state. So this is a real-time, current day cost calculator. Correct. Very updated. So this is a very nice tool for us because the amount of maintenance has been a real hot button issue. And the feeling was that it was going to be oppressively expensive. And the fact is that there is data that shows that maintenance is actually far lower than what people say it will be. And this calculator actually gives you a real world Michigan current cost calculator. So it's actually, if we didn't plow the trail, it would be about $500 a year. With plowing, it's $1,300.
So further question along those lines, part of the rationale for the agreement joining Lake Town, Douglas, and the township is to hold us to our portion and our maintenance costs. So this concern about having to be taking care of the whole thing is not, we're talking about our portion, and we're looking at roughly $1,229.25.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So then reading that across again, so when I get to the annual snow removal cost per mile, that's Masters, that might be it. It shows $2,000. Is that what we would be normally spending on it anyway? Because I don't see how that fits into the total then. The annual maintenance and the snow removal, one is $850 and the other is $2,000. And I'm assuming just the dark numbers are the ones that add up to that $274. So as our annual maintenance, we don't have to consider that as an additional expense because we're paying that anyway. Where are you looking at? On page 32, the first line, shared roadway. So then you've got annual maintenance, $850 per mile, and snow, $2,000 per mile. But then the darker numbers, 76, 18, and 180, that pulls up to 274. So I'm guessing that the 850 are the cost, but we would normally have them anyway, whether there was a trail. Okay. That's fine. I can touch base with you later.
Yeah, I can follow up with the engineer and get you an exact answer to that. And the engineers will be with us at least 1 or 2 meetings.
Perfect.
So we can
So
really,
they'll basically be able to plug in our less than a mile, whatever it is, 0.4,
miles.
and do the math in an Excel spreadsheet with the formulas.
Yeah, we did this for each community.
Got it.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thanks.
Any other questions on the maintenance discussion? Now we can move ahead to holiday lighting.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. It was just a question that I had for council. You may have noticed that the lighting company is already starting to install. Has the council ever considered, I mean, they're good looking lights. Has the council ever considered turning those on earlier in the season?
We've had discussions where we wanted to keep them on as much as we could, but we only kept them on in the back end. Extending the lights.
You know what? Wasn't the lighting done? It's part of the celebration.
For all lighting of the tree and.
They tried to get them up before the snow hit, so they might have put them up there. Yeah. We'd like to put them up, right after Labor Day.
Weren't they coordinated with the Sadaba's Christmas thing or not, or holiday lighting of the tree or something
Well,
in
the
the
first time it's
star?
turned all on at the same time.
Yeah.
And Baltic too, yeah.
You still have the tree lighting, even though the holiday lights are on
Yeah,
Yeah, I would think we'd want to at least see if Sadaba had any special occasion planned for the.
they always have
Holiday lighting.
Halloween, yeah, so, yeah, this last year with the pandemic, I think the agreement was to turn them on as soon as possible, just to liven things up a little bit, because it was just so dismal.
Yeah, it kind of gave a
And keep them on.
spark of normalcy.
It did.
Everybody wanted to keep them on too.
Yeah.
That's great.
So from a cost perspective, do you know what it ended up costing the city as far as having it on an additional amount of time?
Yes, I can have that for Monday. It's pretty nominal because of the LED, there's
Yeah.
one LED.
Got it.
I
So
do
not-
have those numbers.
Okay, and thinking back to your questions about the social district in Wicks Park.
Yeah,
Are bistro lights the way to go, or should we consider these LED lights being extended over to the Wicks Park?
Great question. Have you been reading my emails?
No.
'Cause
Not intentionally.
besides the ones I send you, which I hope you're reading. I think they did say the bistro lights didn't make the most sense, and they actually gave me a cost for kind of continuing what they've done in other areas. So I think that was like orders of magnitude around $4,000, and I can bring those costs down.
Yeah, you think about how awesome the gazebo will look with LED lights strung around it. I mean, that would be just gorgeous.
Mhm.
and
Absolutely gorgeous.
another point is I think that CVB is planning on donating another 5,000.
Nice. We should probably talk to the Rotary too. I'll talk to them.
Okay, so I think I got pretty good direction on that. Can touch on it again on Monday, Mr. Mayor, if you'd like.
Okay, any other questions on that? But if, always approach that again Monday. I suppose it'll be on the agenda for information or a decision on the date to turn the lights on. Media, audio, visual updates.
Yes, we have, thanks to Kate and Padley for chasing down some proposals. Kate White has put this executive summary together. Currently, we have the summary provides the background of what we're trying to accomplish with the AV upgrades. Going to a hybrid system where we're not doing what we're doing now. And then we talk about the scope of work that we use to get our proposals. And then at this point, we've received 3 proposals, and we're anticipating 1 more to be received. Proposals are all coming in around $20,000, so that's a good sign. And the fact that you can tell that the estimates are good because they're close together. And so on Monday, we anticipate to either provide a firm recommendation on one of the proposals, or if there's more due diligence that staff needs to do, get authority from council to pick one, and then have the mayor execute the agreement as to not waste another 2 weeks and to move getting the AV technology upgraded. So that's the story there.
Yeah, I would urge staff to come with a solid recommendation of a choice, especially given not a big spread on the numbers. You guys have talked with them, you've interviewed them, you're gonna have to work with them. So I think we can lean on you guys to make a solid recommendation for us.
Okay.
Council agree to that?
Yeah. I think in the interest of transparency, this is important that we get it done. So.
Yeah.
Great. Awesome.
Okay, any other questions on that? I'm sure that, you're gonna hope to have this for us Monday night?
Yes, sir.
Okay, good.
Good work.
Thanks for
Katie.
working, pulling it together. Moving on to the second opportunity for the public to address council. If you feel an urge to talk to us, please do so at this time. Sure, Nancy. Yeah.
Some of them start to break down. So it's a little shabby.
We probably experienced less of that with the LED approach, I think, last year.
And they're pretty good about repairing as soon as they get funds.
Yep. But good comment, thank you. No other public comment, no communications to share. Council comments going around, so Ken? Holly, anything more? Thank you for your guys' work on the committee.
Thank you.
Darnett?
I'll have a report from the recycling crew, when we allow going on, in particular, like, trying to move towards the
Okay, Chris?
The Mount radar station work group has got a roof repair completed for the radar station, so we should have a water tight roof there, which is a good development. We should have a working fence shortly, and the team's heading up to start scraping paint and repainting in the next few weeks. So I think there'll be a lot of visible improvements in the next month or so outside of the radar station.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments, Ryan? We good?
We're good. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Meeting adjourned. See you Monday.
No.
Well, it's also on the agenda.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
That's for the council.